Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Modern Barber Upskills. This is a Modern Barber Masterclass supported by Babyliss Pro. Today we're going to be chatting about modern mullets and the North-South men's hair trends divide with Cutthroat Pete. We're going to be talking to Pete about men's hair trends and fashion and whether there really is a North-South divide when it comes to style. Plus, he's going to be doing a live demo of a modern mullet that's 2021 appropriate. Hello, Pete.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, good to see you. I am so excited about this mullet tutorial. I'm a fan. I know they're quite divisive, but can you first kind of introduce what makes this version of the mullet 2021 kind of appropriate? Why are they back in trend? Is it kind of an ironic thing? What's going on?
I just feel with obviously 2020 was absolutely crazy. You know, we were all stuck at home, and so many people couldn't get a haircut that they decided to grow the hair out,
Yeah,
or shave it all off. So
yeah,
uh,
one way or the other.
that's it, yeah. So for the fellas who've decided to grow the hair out, they're looking for something cool to do with it, something different. I've seen some home done mullets,
Yeah,
yeah, which are a bit crazy. But you know, it's each to their own. But yeah, in the weeks that we have been allowed to be open, you know, I've seen a small growing trend up in the north. But you know, like I said to you before we did this, I do know in London, you know, we see fashions happen down in London, hair fashions, clothing fashions, and you know, it tends to trickle up here after about 6 months, maybe a
yeah,
year sometimes. Um, so yeah, you know, I feel like it could catch on up here. It's one of them haircuts. It's, you know, it's a Marmite haircut for customers and for barbers. Like a lot
yeah,
of barbers I know don't like doing a mullet. But you know, from back when I was just starting out as a barber in the early 2000s, they were in trend then, and I used to do a lot of them. I used to have one myself.
nice.
So I do know that, you know, there is going to be people that are wanting this haircut. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's just great to be able to do them. And you know, it's what, you know, if you want to do a fade, you know, if you enjoy doing fades, you can execute that into a mullet. If you enjoy doing longer hair, you know, obviously you can use them skills on a mullet. It's just a bit of a cool haircut to do. It keeps things fun.
yeah.
And you know, for the people who are going to have a mullet, it's great for them because it's, as I say, it's fun. You know, it can look cool, it can look smart. You can dress it up, dress it down. So yeah, that was why, you know, I decided to go for this haircut today.
Sweet. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you've prepped and kind of your first steps in making a mullet?
Yeah, so basically before we've come live today, I've sectioned my model's hair off. I've made a horseshoe pattern around the top section of the hair, just separating the sides from the top, and then in this back sort of crown area, I've made a separate section there because with mullets you need to connect the short hair on the top to the long hair at the back, and I always feel like this kind of area around the crown is one that people can struggle with when they're going to do a mullet haircut. Um, Again, as I say, I've sectioned off the sides of the hair, because this area I'm going to use clippers, and then I'm going to show you how I transition from a clipper cut on the sides into the long hair at the back. So yeah, I just feel like this sectioning pattern is really easy to do. It took me literally seconds, you know, to put the hair into this kind of sectioning pattern. It's a basic, simple sectioning pattern. And the great thing about this training head that I'm using, if someone hasn't had the haircut for, you know, maybe 6 months, touching on a year, the hair is probably going to be around this length. So, you know, this is kind of the length that people are going to be coming to you with and asking for a mullet haircut. I do know the odd person, you know, some people, sorry, will approach you and want to grow the hair into that kind of style. It is a little bit trickier to do, but you know, you've just got to explain to your client that they're going to obviously need to grow the back of the hair out, and up until the point that gets long enough, you can maybe just maintain the sides around the temples, around the sideburns, and just let everything else grow out. So yeah, I've pre-cut the back. I've cut the back with basically with my razor and razor and a comb. I've worked in square layers through the back, and I'm going to go in and texture the back a little bit more towards the end. But with the back, we want it to kind of be really loose, and if you know, mullets work great on wavy hair. So this training head's got wavy hair, so that's perfect. So yeah, as I say, I've razor cut it because with a mullet, it's got to be loose, it's got to be, you know, cool. we don't want any straight lines. We don't want any hard lines through this back area because, you know, as they say, it's business in the front and party in the back.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is just nice and loose at the back. I've cut that really loose, and I say I put a little bit of texture in there, but I'll add a little bit more before we dry the hair off and style it.
Cool. And
sorry, go on.
You kind of mentioned that barbers don't love doing mullets. Yeah. Why do you think that is? Is that because they don't like the actual style, or is it because of the execution is a little more technical?
Because they don't. I think it's more because they don't like the style. You know, a couple of friends of mine who are barbers say, wow, I hate mullets, but you know, they're the same guys that hate top knots, and you know, guys they don't really like doing longer hair. So I suppose maybe that's just, you know, their thing. They're more of traditional who enjoy doing, you know, short back and sides or fades and stuff like that. As I say, my path into barbering was quite a creative path. So I was working in a salon in Liverpool. It was really creative. It was like we did loads of colour, did loads of, you know, these asymmetric haircuts and mullets and stuff. So that's kind of always been my interest and my bit of fun in the job.
Real.
So yeah, I'm just going to start off by, as I say, cutting these side sections in. Clipper over comb, really easy technique to use. I'm going to go for like a nice square shape through the sides. And then through the top area, I'm going to put a lot of texture through the top, take it down to about maybe 2 inches, 2.5 inches length on the top. Going to keep a small fringe so that you can either wear it down and across a little bit, or you can push it up and show off the texture through the top. And then, as I say, as we're closing off, I'll connect the top into the back. I'll put some texture through the back of the hair, and then I'll show you how to go about styling it. But as I say, it's a really loose kind of haircut. It's really relaxed. You know, there's no major, you don't need straighteners or you don't need anything major apart from, you know, the haircut is everything with a mullet. You don't need a lot of product or anything like that. It's more just, if you execute the mullet well, then it'll look great and it'll be dead easy, low maintenance for the person wearing it.
Bro. And talking of the person wearing it, do you think it takes a certain type of person to wear a mullet? Do you think it has to be done with a certain sense of irony?
Yeah, definitely. You know, like I always talk about it when I work with Babyliss on stage, and we talk about like how we've come up with a look or how, you know, who would wear this haircut. I'm guessing the kind of person that would wear this haircut would be quite relaxed in themselves, you know, quite confident in themselves, because people are going to look at you when you've got this haircut. You know, if you're walking down the street, especially up north in Liverpool, if you walk around with a mullet, then, you know, people are going to look at you and you know, admire your haircut or maybe hate it, but you know, you've got to have the confidence to be able to wear this haircut. And yeah, so I think someone who's really confident, someone who hasn't got too much of a formal job.
Okay, yeah.
You know, if you're a solicitor or a lawyer or a barrister or a banker or something like that, then you might not get away with wearing this kind of haircut. So someone who's got like
Zoom, it's quite a useful cut, isn't it? Because you can just straight on.
Yeah.
The solicitors might get away with it.
I was doing some reading the other night because I knew I was doing this, and I was just reading into different people's views on mullets and stuff, and
really,
that's what people were saying. They were saying it's an amazing haircut for people who have to work from home because you know, you can sit there in front of your computer and look really smart, and then when you come off Zoom, you've got a big shaggy bit at the back.
So can you talk us a little bit about the tools that you're using today?
Yeah, so I've been working with Babyliss now for the past 3 years, and obviously when I started working with Babyliss, I converted to my whole tool setup changed. I used to be with a different brand, and then obviously my whole tool setup changed, and I've solely used Babyliss now for the past 3 years. Obviously the cordless, the clippers. You get about 90 minutes use out of a set of clippers, which is amazing because I do a lot of traveling with my work. So, you know, if I'm going to a hotel or I'm going to a different country even, I haven't got to worry whether the clippers are going to work on the voltage over there or anything. You know, I take a couple of sets of clippers with me, make sure they're all charged up, and then I'm good to go. You know, I can work anywhere. I can work on the street. I can work in hotel rooms. I can work wherever's good. So, yeah, they are a great set of clippers. All the clipper guards, you know, everything the clippers come with, the setup's complete. I do get a lot of messages asking me why I'd recommend people to switch over to Babyliss. And one of the big factors for me is that it's a solid clipper. It's a full metal body. You drop them, you get bashed about in your bag, but they're solid. You know what I mean? You don't feel like they're going to break. The tapering lever has little notches, so when you're doing fades or any really tight, intricate work, you can work using these notches, and you don't forget where you are in a fade. So a lot of people who are new to barbering, I tell them all the time that these are a really great clipper because, as I say, the notches on the side just make it so easy to remember where you are and at certain haircut.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, and for anything precision, that's a great point. I've got these carbon blades on mine that are really good. They're a different setup to what the clippers come with originally. But these are Babyliss carbon blades. They're a bit tighter than the blades that come on the actual clipper. So that's a great little upgrade that I've just done myself last year. And then I get a lot of questions as well about these rubber sleeves that sit over. These just add to the grip. I put mine over the on-off switch and it just kind of stops you knocking it on or off. And again, it protects them when they're in my bag and I'm travelling around with my clippers in my bag. But as I say, one of the greatest points for me is I can do, 2 or 3 haircuts with these before they'll need charging again. So it's great. They hold the charge very well and they're a great clipper.
Cool. Lots of good hacks there for people to kind of take away and use. Thank you for explaining. So let's also talk about trends and your theory, which we've already touched on a little bit, about trends kind of catching on a little later outside of London and, fashion weeks and all that. Just want to reassure everyone watching that we're not trying to be regionalist, but we just kind of want to explore that idea a little more. Do you want to tell us what your thoughts are on that?
Yeah, since I've been a barber, I've always been interested in fashion as well, like male fashion. So obviously looks and styles and stuff come from, from fashion. So for years, I've gone down to London for Men's London Fashion Week. I haven't actually attended the show. I've just been on the street. I love photography, so I'll go down and I'll take some street photography, and I'll have a look at what people are wearing and what predictions people have got for the season ahead. And a lot of the time, it's great for hair as well, because you can kind of make predictions as to where the hair world's going to go based on what people are wearing and what's big in the fashion world. So I was looking before Christmas mainly. I was doing a lot of reading about fashion and stuff, and I've seen a lot of 70s stuff coming back into fashion, like wide leg trousers for men and them kind of fits. So I feel like, again, the mullet will be a great haircut to bring back at this time when fashion's going that way. People are going for them looks. And as far as the divide goes, as I say, I spend as much time as I can in London. I've got clients that live down there, so I travel to see them when I'm allowed. And obviously it's the capital city. It's the biggest city in our country, and it's where a lot of things do start. That's why I like to spend time down there, because I like to see mullets, and I like to see new haircuts and things that are happening down in London. And it allows me to come back and say to my clients, well, at the moment in London, people are going for this kind of look, or fashion's looking this way down in London, so why don't you give this a little try?
Do you find your clients are very open-minded or a little bit resistant, or do they trust you to know what's hot?
Yeah, I've got a mixture of clients. So some of my clients are businessmen, some of my clients they work in really corporate jobs and stuff. So I'm lucky that I've got quite a closed client base. I don't really take on new clients. So I know all of my clients on a personal level, and I know, what they like to get up to in their free time. And I know what kind of fashion sense, what kind of fashion they're into, what they do in their own free time. So that allows me to kind of give them a pointer in the right direction when it comes to picking a haircut and stuff. But then, people will want to change. So sometimes people will sit down and just say, I want to change my hair, what do you suggest? And then they're putting their sole trust, in me to suggest something that will suit them and suit their lifestyle and stuff. So, they are open to, suggestions. And I have got some young, cool clients that are into trying different things out. And when I can finally get back behind the chair, I'm hoping that a few of my clients will be up for going for something like this, because it's cool, isn't it? It's something.
like you said, it's kind of the one time in someone's life that they probably haven't been to the barbers for months and months and months, and they've got that length that they can play with now. So
Exactly.
why not give it a go?
Yeah, it's so exciting. Like before Christmas, when we were allowed back to work, there's so many of my clients that some of them I'd see them on a weekly basis. So they'd get the hair every single week, and obviously through the last lockdown, they didn't get a chance to have a haircut, and some of them have gone for 6 or 7 months without having a haircut at all, and yet they've got a great length to the hair now. And it's surprising how many men have cut the hair really short for years, but I've actually got an amazing head of hair. And now they've had that chance to grow it out a little bit. You can see how great the hair is, and they're absolutely made up, because in any normal circumstance they wouldn't have gone for 3 months or 4 months without a haircut, so they would never have had the opportunity to see what the hair looks like at that length. And yeah, as you say, a lot of these fellas have never had long hair before, so they're coming to me and asking for suggestions on how they should style it, how they should have it cut. So yeah, it's going to be exciting for all barbers, I think, when we do get to go back to work, and our clients are looking for something new, for something different.
Yeah, and they're looking for you for that inspiration as well. So
that's it. Yeah.
Where do you recommend people kind of look for style inspirations and trends?
Obviously we've got Instagram now. It's incredible. You can go on Instagram, in your free time, and you can search whatever hashtag you want, and you can come across some incredible stuff that you 10 years ago you never would have had access to unless you'd have bought like GQ magazine or or gone to fashion shows and stuff. So there's so many resources and so many ideas available now just by looking on social media. So I always recommend people search certain hashtags, search men's fashion, search men's fashion predictions, and you'll always find really cool looks and really cool ideas that you can make your own, or you can use for inspiration.
Become quite a lot more democratic in a way, hasn't it, in terms of
so that's where I get a lot of my inspiration, social media. But I obviously also follow fashion designers on Instagram as well. So and I follow a lot of bloggers. I read blogs and stuff. So a lot of the bloggers I follow, they go to fashion shows, and that's their main interest, and they'll do predictions and stuff based on what they see at the shows, and as to what's going to be big in the seasons ahead.
Would you agree that this year, more than ever, kind of TV, Netflix, kind of entertainment media has played a big part in getting trends to the masses than ever before?
Yeah, massively. I'd say the past couple of years, like the likes of there's a show called Vikings. I've never actually watched it, but a lot of my clients,
are they referencing it? Yeah,
they were bringing pictures of this main guy off the Viking show, telling me they wanted to look like that, which is cool. It's something totally different, and it's good that people are wanting to try new things out. But yeah, there's so many shows. Like a lot of these shows now as well are like films. I'm watching one called Godfather of Harlem on an American show, but yeah, that's set in the 60s, so it's really cool to see the fashion and the haircuts, and get some reference and some ideas from around them eras.
Yeah, I know what you mean about them being so big budget that everything kind of feels like really high value production and like a film almost at the moment. So they've clearly all invested as well in hair and makeup and style and costume.
It's incredible.
The output's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about taking care of your clippers and how often people should be kind of cleaning and maintaining them and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so this is a bit of a mad subject, because I've had barbers come and work with me who, I haven't been a part of them becoming a barber initially. They've obviously done their training elsewhere, and they've asked me, would I service their clippers for them, or would I take their clippers apart and check them? And it's a mad one, because, as I say, for me, this was part of my apprenticeship. So when I was an apprentice, I had to one of the first things I learned was the barber who was teaching me how to cut hair. I used to take his clippers apart for him and service them and clean them out. And I'd do that. I'd take them apart once a week and I'd clean them out, you know, maybe a couple of times a week. And then in between haircuts, he was obviously using a hygiene spray and he was cleaning them off himself. So it's always been ingrained in me that you should really look after your tools, because at the end of the day, these are what make you your money. So yeah, I still do that now. I take my clippers apart once a week. Usually on my day off, I'll do it. It takes me, 15, 20 minutes. I'll take the blades off, I'll clean them out. I'll disinfect and sterilize all the inside of the clipper. And then I'll put them back together and I'll set the blades again. So I like my blades set really quite close. Not zero gap as such, not like really, really close, but I like them set a little bit closer than they are set when they come from the factory. So yeah, but that's all stuff that I've taught myself, and it's stuff that people I've spoke to have said to me in the past, I didn't even know you had to service your clippers. But you do. Obviously, they're your tools, like your scissors and anything else in your toolkit. You have to service it to get the best out of it. So yeah, I do suggest doing it. One of the things I do suggest is like take your time when you're doing it. Don't do it when you're in a rush, because taking the blades off your clippers, there's little small moving parts underneath, and sometimes if you're not confident, you might not remember how things go back together or whatever. So there's loads of videos on YouTube, to be honest, and there's loads of stuff on there so people are telling you how to do it. So if you're struggling, get on YouTube and watch a video. And but as I say, or you get an old pair of clippers that you've got. I've got a couple of old pairs that I keep hold of, and if anyone comes to me and they're struggling on how to take the clippers apart, I'll give them my old sets and just say, I'll have a play with them, because it's definitely something that you should know how to do as a barber, is servicing your tools.
So just talk us through what you're doing at the moment.
So I've removed all the bulk from the sides. It was really long on the sides, obviously, 6 or 7 inches long. So at the moment, I'm just removing the bulk from the top now. Not doing anything overly technical. I'm just literally removing a lot of bulk, maybe 5 or 6 inches of length off the hair, off the top. I'm going to get it all down to a level where I can kind of see what I'm doing, and then I'll go ahead and start putting the shape into the haircut then. As I mentioned before, the sides are cut really square. That's I've kept it like a really masculine shape. So it's going to keep that nice lean square shape through the sides and through the corners. I'm going to have a little bit of height on top because I'm going to put a load of texture in. The techniques I'm going to use to texture is literally just point cutting, and then I'll go back through with my razor and I'll just literally tear that apart on top. I'm going to really rip it up and make it really heavily textured, because as I said earlier, I want this to be a really loose haircut. I don't want it to be overly overstyled or look like it's taking half an hour to style. This kind of haircut is something that you can spray a little bit of salt spray in the morning, and then you can either blast it off with a hairdryer, or you can leave it just to air dry naturally, and it'll look great. It'll look as good as it did when you leave the barbershop.
Well, and are there any Babyliss Pro products that you'd recommend for other grooming things that people should be using for this look and for others? What are your favourites, basically?
My favourite tool in my Babyliss kit at the moment is the skeleton trimmer. It's the newest. It's the newest trimmer that's been out for maybe the past 12 months now, or 18 months. But it's got like a really wide head on it. It's got a T-blade on it, and it's all exposed underneath, as you can see. So the body doesn't get in the way at all. It's great because you can get in really close. You can shape beards with it. You can do in people's hair with it. And the blades themselves, I haven't zero gap these, and they come really close from the factory. It's an amazing trimmer, and I've converted a lot of people onto Babyliss just through this trimmer alone. Because as I say, it is so good. Again, it's got a full metal body, so it's really strong, and it lasts a long time. You can probably get 7 or 8 haircuts out of that before you have to charge it, because obviously you're not using that clipper to do the whole haircut. So you know, you're using it to do the lining out around the edges, or trimming people's beards, lining people's beards up. So yeah, it'll last you a long time before it needs another charge.
Fab.
Which again is great for people who are travelling.
Definitely. Oh, wish we were traveling right now. So going back to trends, why do you think some trends catch on and some don't? Is it because of the wearability? And can you give any examples of trends that you've kind of seen fall flat on their face?
So I think trends catch on depending on an area, you know, an area of the country. So a lot of people I've seen wearing mullets at the moment are in East London. So, you know, East London's really cool. There's a lot of, I don't know what you call them, hipsters maybe, you know, really cool people that don't really give a hell about what anyone else thinks about them. You know, they'll go out and they're proud to just like wear whatever they want and whatever they feel comfortable and happy in. So I think, you know, a lot of trends that I like and a lot of trends that I take inspiration from come from that sort of area, you know, East London, Brick Lane, that kind of vibe. And then, yeah, you know, there's trends that happen there that won't carry up north, or they'll dilute a little bit. So, you know, some of the mullets that you might see around East London are really severe, really abstract. You know, they've got really quirky little parts to them, and you know, I can't see a lad walking around Liverpool with a haircut like that. So yeah, trends I think you know, are based on different areas, as we said before. You know, there's trends that I don't know, I can't think of one that's fallen flat on its face, but you know, I do know that there's certain haircuts that I've seen in the past. Maybe I'm trying to think of one. Like the really disconnected stuff that was diluted as it moved up north. So down in London, I was seeing people with really, really heavy disconnections. You know, like literally shaved right up to the top, and then big, massive, long hair on top. Something like that wouldn't have really worked out up here. So that didn't really catch on. And again, there's a lot of subcultures in London, so, or down south. So you see a lot of, you know, you still see a lot of punks, and you still see a lot of people into different genres of music and stuff, and they'll dress that way. Whereas up here, people tend to use different things for inspiration. So I think, you know, footballers and people like that have a big influence on people's fashion ideas up here. And obviously that goes for haircuts as well. So, you know, I get a lot of customers that will say to me, oh, I like such and such a footballer's haircut. Can I have mine like that? And I suppose, you know, where part of London you'd see people taking their inspiration from fashion, then you wouldn't necessarily see a lot of, you know, football-inspired haircuts.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that makes sense. So speaking of 2021, do you think there's any other trends that we should be watching out for? It'll be interesting to see how they adapt at different areas of the country.
Yeah. I wrote a blog post a while ago, and it wasn't clickbait, but you know, I called it as the fading out, and I got a lot of feedback off it. Like people were saying to me, you know, obviously the fade will never go away, and I knew that when I wrote the piece. You know, I know the fade will never go away, but what I was kind of heading at, like pushing at when I was talking about that idea, was the fact that long hair is becoming more mainstream, especially in Liverpool. It's mad, you know, we call it the ket wig. A lot of young lads in Liverpool have, like, we're talking from maybe 13, 14 up to, you know, 20. I've got massive long heads of hair, and they haven't had the haircut for maybe 3 or 4 years now. And they're just all sporting these big, bouncy, long heads of hair.
Cool.
It's cool because, you know, these lads are wearing outdoor gear, they're wearing tracksuits, they're wearing that kind of stuff, but they've got these big, massive, long heads of hair. So, yeah, you know, when I did that blog piece, I was just saying that what I wanted to say was, like, longer hair is becoming more mainstream. And, you know, lads who used to go in every single week to the barbershop and get a fade are now feeling a bit more relaxed about it and are growing the hair out. And, you know, the fade, in a way, is fading out, but, you know, it will always be around. That's one thing I can say. And yeah, sorry, I've lost my point now. What I'm saying.
No, don't worry. We've actually got a audience question. So it's kind of, I think what they're trying to get at is explaining when you're doing this on the same haircut, can you explain the differences in using clipper, scissors, and razor? And I guess that's kind of getting at what different techniques and what finishes those tools produce.
On this haircut?
Yes, let's go with that. I'm going to try and translate what the question is. Yeah. Oh.
So yeah, if you're using clippers, obviously you're going to get a much more severe, harsh look. You're going to get maximum skin exposure. So that's good. Using clippers are great for these areas, around the temples. I'll just hide that up. Are great for around the temples, around any areas that, you really do want to see the skin underneath. Yeah. Transitioning into the back, that's down to yourself. I like to use a razor mainly, but at the moment I'm using my scissors just because I'm removing a lot of bulk. So I'm just literally chopping all the bulk off with my scissors, and then I want to go back through with my razor and add more texture into it. And as I said before, make it really loose. So yeah, between the scissors and the razor, the haircutting razor, that's personal preference really. Depends on what your favourite technique of adding texture into a haircut is. And bulk removal, scissors are great for that. Again, you can use the razor for bulk removal. It's all just about personalising the haircut, making the haircut look how you want it to look and how the customer's going to be, happy with it to look. But yeah, as I say, clippers for the more severe stuff, and then scissors maybe for bulk removal. When I say bulk removal, I mean like taking 5 or 6 inches of length off the hair, and then razor for adding internal texture and refining parts of the haircut. So yeah, that's kind
perfect.
Of yeah.
Thank you.
At the moment, so what I've done is I've released the section of hair that I'd kept pinned up around the crown area, and what I've done is I'm taking sections this way, and I'm just literally connecting that into this back section. So what I'm trying to create, the silhouette that I'm trying to create, is nice choppy textured height through the top, and then the transition into the longer hair at the back. I want this to have a bit of lift to it. I don't want it to be high and then go really flat and long at the back. I want it to be height and volume around the crown. So the way I'm achieving that is cutting shorter layers in to transition from the top into the back. I've cut shorter layers in through that area, and I'm going to go through with the razor and add texture into that area, just so that when the person does, style this haircut, you can literally just blast it with a hairdryer and you will get that root lift in that area, and then you'll obviously keep all this nice loose length through the back. So yeah, that's how I'm going about connecting the top in with the back. I'm just taking these sections, and as I say, I'm just connecting it through like this and making layers in them areas.
So just out of interest, with the north-south divide, where do you see the divide as sitting? It's such a tricky one.
I don't spend a lot of time in Birmingham. One of my best friends, Liam, who works with Babyless with me, he lives in Birmingham, but I haven't spent a lot of time there, and I don't really know a lot of people from there. But obviously that's the middle of the country, so
yeah.
I suppose you could use Birmingham as the.
I'm from the Midlands, so I'm like, I always see that as it's the Midlands for a reason.
That's the case. Would you say that's where the cut-off is?
I think so. But some people say Watford Gap, don't they, on the M1? So
the difference between Liverpool and Manchester is massive. Like
really, yeah.
It's called the Northern Quarter, and it's very much like East London, like a Brick Lane kind of vibe. It's
yeah,
a lot of hipstery kind of people there. There's a lot of independent record shops. There's a lot of vintage shops, and yeah, in Liverpool, there's not a definite area where kind of vibe. Where I'm based around this area of Liverpool, the Baltic Triangle area, it's really cool. It's quite creative. So there's a lot of like web designers, there's musicians, there's graphic designers. It's quite a creative area. So them kind of people are usually up for a little bit of bit of a change. I suppose it's because the job allows it, you know. So they're a bit more relaxed in what they'll be up for with the haircuts and stuff. But for the rest of Liverpool, everyone's really clean cut. Everyone likes to look really smart. And even though I said before, you know, the lads who have really grown their hair out, they're still dressed really clean looking, you know. They'll wear tracksuits or, you know, outdoor gear, and they always look, you know, immaculate. So yeah, it is a lot harder in Liverpool to find people that are up for going for a haircut like this. Do you know what I mean? I'll probably end up doing these kind of haircuts on clients of mine that do travel over from Manchester, or, you know, that do come from London. So a typical, you know, Liverpool lad, you might not find wears a mullet.
Oh, I don't know. Wait a couple of years.
What is exciting at the moment, as I say, is the amount of long hair that we're cutting as, you know, as barbers, and it's mad how surprised people are when, like, clients are when they find out that you can cut long hair. You know, I was speaking to someone that works in one of my shops, and they were saying that a few of their clients have said, like, should I start going to the hairdressers now that I've got long hair? But yeah, it's you know, that was something that actually happened in the 60s and 70s, wasn't it? You know, when the Beatles were started wearing like the bowl cut and stuff. A lot of men stopped going to barbershops and ended up going to, you know, ladies' salons, ladies' hairdressers. But, you know, what I've found is a lot more barbers enjoy long hair now. A lot of barbers are wanting to cut long hair rather than standing doing fades all day. It just keeps the job more interesting. And, you know, I feel like if you can offer, you know, men's hairdressing as well as barbering to your client, it just gives people more of a reason to come to your barbershop as well.
Definitely. And how are you doing with the cut now? Are you in the final kind of process of it, or?
More or less, yeah. I'm just making sure that the shape is pretty much how I want it to be. And then the main bit I'm going to do now is go back through with the razor and just add some texture through.
Brilliant.
Just to remove any heaviness that doesn't need to be there, because one of the main things I always talk about when I do any stage work or any tutorials or online stuff is that I see so many haircuts on Instagram that leave people's barber chairs, and I think that's absolutely incredible. But I often wonder how many times, you know, the client gets home and can't replicate that haircut.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a big thing that, you know, anybody that I do train or give tutoring to or anything like that, I always say that educating your clients on how to achieve the look themselves, and being conscious of that when you're actually doing the haircut is a big thing, because, you know, it's all fine and well giving someone an amazing haircut and making them look amazing when they leave the barbershop, but then if they wake up the next morning, have a shower, wash their hair, and they haven't got a clue what to do with it.
Yeah.
And, you know, they might as well have gone somewhere and, you know, paid a lot less money for a haircut. And yeah, I just feel that that's part of my service anyway, for the price I charge. I like to educate my clients. I like to show them how to use a hairdryer and how to achieve the look that I've given them. And as I say, I'm conscious of that when I'm doing the actual haircut as well. So I know that by using a razor, I can put texture into the hair, deep inside the hair. And all my clients will do is after, you know, ruffle the fingers through the haircut, and it'll look nice and textured, and it'll be dead easy for them to replicate. Rather than them having to get a brush out and, you know, start giving themselves a full blow dry every morning. And me personally, I prefer giving natural looking haircuts as opposed to anything overly done. But as I say, that's just, you know, my personal preference. That I'm not saying that people who do the opposite to that are bad or anything like that. That's just, you know, that's my personal preference. The amazing thing is with us as barbers that everyone has preferences like that, and that's what, you know, that's why we have client bases, because our clients know how we cut hair and, you know, what our styles are as barbers, what haircuts we like doing, and, you know, your clients will come to you because of that. So,
it's gaining that loyalty, isn't it, and the trust as well of the client that they can create their haircut at home just as you've done in the barbershop.
Yeah, definitely. You know, as I say, it's part of the service. If someone sits down in my chair, then they not only get a haircut, they get to tell me all the problems, they get to, they get to talk to me for an hour and 15 minutes, and then at the end they get a little lesson on how to style the hair. So that's just always been the case in my situation. That's just always been the case. I just enjoy knowing that, I can educate my client to do their own hair. And I've got clients that, will go on lads' holidays and they'll be in the hotel room of an evening, blow drying all their mates' hair, or, styling all their mates' hair for them, using techniques that I've taught them. So,
amazing.
The people are listening that much and taking the advice on board that much that they can actually, style their mates' hair. And So yeah, the transition between the shaved area of the hair and the long area of the hair, that's where a lot of people get stuck. And I remember years ago when as I say, the last time mullets were a bit of a fashion thing, I used to always have a look at this bit when I seen mullets done by other people, and just see how other people went about connecting this area. And what my general rule is that I use is, so on aisle with the back of the ear, I make a section there, and anything in front of that is either tapered really close or maybe just clip it down to, something not too severe. And then directly behind the ear, what I tend to do is I take two or three vertical sections, and I just pull them straight out, and I go quite short behind the ear, and then I make the sections a little bit longer as I come back. So the first section will be quite short, then the second section will be a little bit longer, and then the third section will be what ties everything into the back. And I just feel like you get a nice graduated look then. You do see people that just literally it's really disconnected, and you end up with like just a line and then a shaved bit and a long bit. I like to connect it in a little bit, just to make the haircut look like a full haircut.
Yeah, and a bit more wearable.
Yeah, and that way it looks like they've been to the barber shop and had a mullet rather than doing it at home with their boyfriend or anything like that. So yeah, it's just like little professional touches that make a haircut look a little bit better.
Definitely. That looks amazing.
So as I say, I did actually do a variation earlier on. So with this one, I took the fringe right away. No fringe at all. So from the side profile, you can see it's really blunt on the front. A clipper on the whole front area, and then graduated it backwards. We put loads of texture around the crown of that one, and then obviously he's got his mullet on the back. And another thing that's really important when it comes to executing haircuts is that the haircuts should look good from every angle. Obviously, when your client does the hair in the mirror in the morning, they'll see themselves from the front, and that's it. But people walking down the street, people sat behind them in the office, everyone gets to see a different angle of your haircut. So I always, when I'm teaching people how to apply product, I always teach them to start at the crown, to work from the crown forward, so that you don't end up with a big load of product in the front. And then also, you're styling every part of your hair then, and it doesn't look great from the front and terrible from the back. It looks great from every angle. So the silhouette is always a big thing I look at when I'm creating a haircut for somebody. And as I say, with this one, we've gone for like a really blunt, harsh front, and then we've built the length up going towards the crown, and then that makes the transition into the longer area at the back like quite seamless, and it just looks like it should be like that. With this one, he's got a lot more wave to his hair, so I've gone for like a natural textured flowy kind of look on through the top. I haven't taken the sides as severe as the other chaining head. We've obviously clipper overcombed them down to maybe a number 2, I'd say. Clipper overcombing just gives you more control, so I haven't whacked the number 2 on there and gone straight in with the number 2. I've clipper overcombed it so that I can take into account the shape of his head, so that we can keep some weight around this area, and then it makes transitioning the side section into the back much easier as well. Because if you'd gone straight in with the number 2, you'd have the harsh line, whereas I've managed to use my clipper overcomb just to kind of take this area from gradually shorter into longer around here.
Love it. It looks amazing. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Do you want to add anything else?
I was quickly going to blast it off and just add a little bit of product into the haircut, but...
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, of course. I know we were talking earlier about the dolly heads and how creepy they are.
Yeah, so if this was my client and I was telling him how to style his hair, I'd tell him not to have a nozzle on the end of his hairdryer, and literally just to use his fingers and the hairdryer, pull out the bits that you want to really accentuate, the textured parts around the crown, and around the middle at the top. You can either wear the fringe coming down, or you can kind of push it up, so you'll use the hairdryer to direct the hair upwards. And then through the back, literally all you want to do is tell your client, to hold the barrel of the hairdryer and just pass through the back area. You don't need to use a round brush or anything like that. There's so much texture in this part of the haircut that it'll just sit really nice and loose. All it needs is a blast of the hairdryer, really. And then product-wise, I'll use a dust because, as I say, we don't want it to dry hard. We don't want to, put a pomade in there or a heavy wax in it.
Yeah.
Really stiff. Again, as I say, my emphasis is on loose. So just go through, dust a bit of dust through the hair, and get it down to the root area, especially around the crown, because this is where we want that transition in the silhouette to look really cool. And we want a load of texture in this area, a bit of volume and height. So we'll use the dust through that area, and then you can always put a light dust in through the back, just to add a little bit of hold and texture. But
that looks so amazing, considering it's just hairdryer powder. I feel like that's such a achievable look for a client at home, and it's all kind of based upon that amazing cut. If you've got an amazing cut, you can
it's so it. To give somebody a haircut that doesn't require half an hour's worth of maintenance in the morning. You shampoo, condition, something like this, and then quick blast with the hairdryer. If you don't want to blast it off with the hairdryer, you can always tell someone to add some texture spray into it, some salt spray, rub that right down to the roots, kind of push it into its general shape, and then leave the house, and it'll just naturally air dry into this nice wavy textured finish. Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll take some photographs of the haircut once, obviously, we've finished our Zoom thing, and I'll send them over to you. And if anyone wants to see the actual finished article,
that'd be amazing.
I'll get some proper photographs of the haircut and that, so people can see.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Pete, for that amazing session. It was so lovely to see hair being done, and you clearly in your element doing it as well. Like, love a cheeky mullet.
Yeah. And I hope anyone that watches has picked up some good tips, because it's nice to be able to share things, and I know a lot are using this time wisely to learn new skills and to try different things. So if anyone's got any questions or anything afterwards, drop me a direct message. I'm always up for answering questions or anything like that. So
that's amazing.
Modern Barber and Babyliss for having me as well.
Yes, thank you so much to Babyliss Pro for supporting us on this live session. And yeah, like Pete said, if you've got any questions or comments, we've had loads of positive feedback so far. So that's really great. People loving the look. So do get in touch with either Modern Barber or Pete, and we will get those questions answered for you. Have a lovely rest of your day. So nice to see you.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye, Pete. Bye.